Hi everyone, Ed Esselman Counseling Services, wanting to talk with you today about the phrase do your best. For those of you who work with children and for those of you who have children, I'm sure that you use it a lot. I know when my children were children, I used it a lot. Many years ago, when I was in the first grade, my teacher, Sister Beata, she was a German Catholic nun. She gave us a writing assignment and a certain amount of time to fill it out. And I remember I was sitting in the back of the class and I was doing my assignment, and about halfway through the time, she said to the children, "Now remember, children, I want you to do your best." And at that moment, I saw the children who had already handed in their assignment go up, retrieve their paper off her desk, and start their work again. When I saw that, I remember thinking to myself, if they decide that their work is not good enough, there's no way that my work is good enough. So I set what I had done thus far aside and I started doing my assignment all over again. That began my love-hate relationship with the phrase, do your best. I'd like to talk about the implications of the use of that phrase and the process of the use of that phrase. The implications. I think sometimes when we say to children, well, now do your best, I think we almost imply that what they're doing up to that point wasn't their best. And I think that affects kids. I also think that when we use it so much with children, we inadvertently expect them to be perfect. When was the last time you did something that was your best? In thinking about that, I can think of two situations. Number one, when I wrote my master's thesis, this was over 30 years ago. This is a very long paper, about 100 pages long. It was a research paper for my master's thesis. And I remember days upon days upon days of reviewing that paper over and over from very many different contexts to make sure that everything I had put in there was correct, was perfect from a grammatical standpoint, from a contextual standpoint, from a clinical implication standpoint. And then the professors that was a part of my committee did the same thing, so that when we turned it into the university to get published, it was pretty darn near perfect. Pretty darn near perfect. Not completely perfect, but pretty darn near perfect. So the point I'm making is that I think that for most of us, we don't do our best every day. We do something that's satisfactory. And then when a big occasion comes along, we really work harder to do even better work. But with our children, we always say, do your best. And then again, this is why I think that leads to a sense of perfectionism in our children. And it's not true. Let's look at the process of using that phrase. In the situation I described before, where Sister Beata said, now remember, children, I want you to do your best. This is someone outside the child saying, do your best, as opposed to the child saying to themselves, I'm going to do my best on this. Fast forward. I have two daughters. My youngest daughter, when she was in the 5th grade, I was a part of a conference. Her mother, myself, my daughter, and her teacher, we all met, and we went over Nicole's grades for the previous quarter. And for every grade, the teacher asked, are you satisfied with that grade? Now, Nicole had a lot of A's, but there were a couple B's. And she said that for the two grades that she got B's, she said she wasn't satisfied. And the teacher said, what are you going to do to improve your grade next quarter? And Nicole gave some ideas. I was very impressed with Nicole at that point, or I still am, but it was clear that Nicole was motivating herself. She wanted to do better, as opposed to someone outside her saying, do your best, Nicole. So, the phrase, I think, do your best is tricky when we use it with children. I think also that your best is not always needed. Good enough could be good enough. But there are some times where we need to put in extra effort on a project. I think do your best is something that is subjective as well as objective. When I get an A on a paper, or when a child gets an A on a paper, it's implied that the work that was turned in compared to certain standards was graded in an objective way to suggest that they earned the grade of A. However, I'm a better therapist today than I was 20 years ago. That's a very subjective evaluation of my abilities as a therapist. What I think we want our kids to do is to do both. We want our children to be motivated to do better when they want to and on important circumstances, situations. Otherwise, I think we have children walking around thinking they have to do their best at everything, and I don't believe that that's necessary. So, what to do? A couple things. Number one, use the phrase do your best sparingly. Secondly, ask the child what kind of work do they want to put in on this assignment or that assignment. How about this? Explain to your child what motivations you put in at your work. Do you always do your best? And on what occasions do you do your best? How do you decide to do your best on which occasions? This will help that child understand that and decide when they want to do their best. Explain why you think it's important for your child to, quote, do their best on or in all their grades. A few things to think about. I'll talk to you again next time. This is Ed Esselman, Esselman Counseling. Contact information 217-224-5273, 217-224-5273. You can visit me on my website, esselmancounseling.com. Contact me through email, ed@esselmancounseling.com. Thank you.